So one thing I actually never really got the time to understand is why there is a generalization, especially I think in the media when something bad actually happens. The reason I say that, I think it's because, that could be anybody. Look what happened to the president a couple weeks ago. Anybody can wake up and do that. I actually don't think it's a matter of a it's probably not even anything to do with the outside world, but I think it's actually a reflection of the current state and condition that you'll find probably the economy's in as we speak. Look, people are stressed, and you need to understand that, right? A lot of people are being required heavy demands, labor, with everything going on right now, and even that personal problems which people don't talk about. I think anybody who draws the conclusion that this is a matter of somebody's background or profile would have to be one of the most unintelligent statements, and perhaps even the most detrimental statement you could make, especially when it comes to sensitive subject matters. And this is the problem, because I feel like people, perhaps they're just like so caught up in the media, and at that point you actually don't know who to follow or who to believe or what conclusions to draw. The only thing I'm going to say is it is actually very upsetting that let's take what happened with the president of the United States, when I think there have been multiple attempts on his career, his position. None of those people who initiated those acts of aggression have come from colored communities. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is the point I'm trying to make to you, that the generalization is it can be quite immature at times, right? It really is a matter of just actually being aware of the current circumstances in society. And furthermore, I think when you actually realize what's going on, and you even study demographics, you would be surprised how much fraudulent behavior is present within those positions where perhaps people have attained high status and power. You actually realize, without their ability to kind of suppress people who perhaps have a difference of opinion, or perhaps even a different aspect to the lens beyond American culture, you really understand at that point that there is only one generalized belief. This is my problem, I would say, with modern American culture. It's very one-dimensional, it's very linear, and because of this type of thinking, you're actually a lot of people actually limit themselves into the amount of opportunities that can exist beyond the westernized culture that has been created. So when you see something happen, I actually just recommend that you probably just want to question somebody as an individual, not as an entire group, right? As an individual, you understand that individual is having perhaps something going on within themselves. And typically, I think one thing you'll actually understand is that your ability to actually live safely without raising your own fear will be alleviated, because you'll actually understand that it's really just about getting to know people, I would say, right? That's something that I would say if you're a person of colored descent, that's not a tough thing to do, right? For the longest time, I would say you'll find that people who are colored, they definitely put a lot of emphasis in getting to know the Western world, getting to know Western lifestyle, Western people. As a matter of fact, some of them have even understood it far beyond the capabilities of their own kind. And just as this has been an approach on one end, I think there needs to be a reciprocal approach taken likewise if you want to alleviate such a problem. Because for as long as generalizations are made, or one person gets a bypass, or one group gets a bypass, but the other group remains under critique and I would say lifelong stigma, you will find that we will keep running into this problem where those actions will have a rippling effect, and as we have seen recently through some of the most controversial places in the Western world. One thing I'm going to let you know, okay, this stuff does not happen around the world. And you will find, even in many parts of Europe, there are people who can actually live on agreeing terms without initiating these acts, certainly without being able to bring about such an overgeneralization to the point where when one person does it, everybody's responsible. It really is about being an individual, and I think when you understand individuals and you actually know, like, okay, what has this person been through, what's going on in this person's life, then you can have the rationale to actually draw a conclusion based on the evidence provided in the situation. And I think this is one thing that a lot of people fail to realize, that a lot of the burden that I would say colored people carry is less about what has actually happened, but more on what has been perceived to happen. And nevertheless, some people cannot break past that, and I would actually say people as a collective, but it's quite upsetting, I would say, because in the end, at the end of the day, I am convinced that there are groups out there who are trying to solve some of these issues that kind of relate and more or less they bring about the necessary change, but it really does come up to who's willing to change that one-dimensional thinking that will actually do everything but allow them to actually grow and understand and to study people. One thing you need to understand, and I'll just leave with this point, okay? I think it's been made very clear that westernized communities, particularly quote unquote white communities, have zero interest. They have almost or pretty much ghosted colored people absolutely from being permitted in their schools, their neighborhoods, their shops, and this is something that I think a lot of colored people do not know. And it is because of this lack of knowledge and this lack of experience that often you find yourselves in these situations. So with that being said, if somebody's exercised their free will and their decision Likewise, I think the only response to such a situation is to pull something of your own and solve your own problems. And that way you will not have to be disrupting other communities who have established boundaries and perhaps principles for how they like to live their accommodated lives.